cannot know the self as an object. It is not knowable as an object is known. There is no duality in this knowledge. So there is no subject-object kind of knowledge. So then, how can you know the self? By being the self. So now we can read verse 26, extremely meaningful and beautiful. Being the self is knowing the self. But the Sanskrit is saying Atma samstiti. That means the abidance in Atman is Swatma darshanam, is the vision of one's own self. So, abidance in self is the vision, but here darshan means more than vision, it is the knowledge, the revelation. So, abidance in the self is the knowledge of self. To abide in the self is to know the self. So the Atma Nishta, that's another, either you say Atma Sthiti or Atma Samstiti or Atma Nishta, is Atma Darshan, is Atma Gyan. So the self-knowledge is actually the state of abidance in the self. Because you cannot know the self as an object. It is not knowable as an object is known. There is no duality in this knowledge. So there is no subject-object kind of knowledge. So then, how can you know the self? By being the self. That means you abide in it. Instead of abiding in the mind and going into a story about yourself, you abide in your true presence. Were you not abiding in the self before? Yes. So you cannot say that it's a new knowledge. So in this Atma Gyan, the knowledge of self, it's not a new knowledge. It's not something that is delivered at your door, like Amazon. It will never arrive. It will never be delivered. It cannot happen. Yet, for the equipment, it's a huge happening. You see the difference? Within yourself, truly, nothing happened. Because you were ever that. But for the equipment, it's a tsunami. And you may not be able to function normally for a few days, or sometimes few weeks. So tell your partner, no need to go to a psychiatrist or to go to intensive care unit. You are totally okay. You are more okay than anyone else. So the people around you should know that something is on the way. Because it's a complete tsunami, but only for the equipment, not for your true self. Because what is realized is that you were ever that. And there is no I am that, that means an I and a that. It's a complete non-dual realization. So I and that are too much. So that's why you have in the Upanishad, Tat ve tat. That only that, not even an I, to confirm or to acknowledge that I is too much. There is only that without another. Ek eva advitiya. You see how subtle it is. So nothing happens, yet for the equipment at the phenomenal level, a huge thing has happened. It's a huge thing. So abidance in the self is the knowledge of the self. That is because of the non-dual nature of the self. That means it's the same like saying to know Brahman is to be Brahman. To be Brahman is Brahmanishta. To be fixed in Brahman, established in Brahman. Brahmanishta. So there is no other way to know the self than to be established in the self. Chit, that means consciousness, is free from jnana and agyan. So jnana and agyana, what is that? Jnana, we know it is the knowledge which is beyond duality, where there is no subject and object. That is the Brahma-gyan, Atma-gyan, the knowledge of the true essence, consciousness. But here, if we mention the opposite, the agyan, that we can only translate by ignorance, so that which is dual here, gyan and agyan, then can only be a reference to a slight objectivity, to know something or not to know it. And the first line is saying that consciousness is devoid, free from this duality, knowledge or no knowledge, knowledge or ignorance. So we will try to understand that. So it is free from this dvandva, this pair of opposites. Because, again, the knowledge of self can never be the knowledge of someone about the self. So the self cannot be known by anything else, anything other than itself. So it is therefore that the consciousness which is realized, it's never realized by someone. So it is totally beyond what we understand by knowledge and absence of knowledge. It's totally beyond that. Because when we say jnana, we still imagine that it refers to someone who may know Atman. And there's no one. So no one realizes Atman. Its consciousness is totally beyond these categories of the mind, jnana or no jnana. That means there can't be the least duality between a center of knowledge, a knower and a known. No differentiation appears in this ultimate knowledge or realization. It's all about the non-dual nature of knowledge of the self. Therefore, the jnani would never claim that I know the self. That is more like the conventional language, like we say, oh, a jnani is the one who knows the self. But there is an error in this assertion. Because truly said, no one is there to know the self. The self is known by itself. It is that absolute knowledge. Chit and jnana are synonyms. So it is known by itself, in itself, through itself. So there can't be a separate jnani. And therefore Bhagavan said so many times that there is only jnana, there is no jnani. So many times he said that. There is only jnana, there is no jnani. Again, the knowledge of the self does not require another consciousness to know the self. The self is known within itself. You don't need another consciousness. So self is ever self-experienced, self-known. So therefore, we can only conclude that no one is truly said ignorant of consciousness. That means all are jnanis. So where is the problem? If all are jnanis, if the self is ever known, if there was never ignorance, if Atma-gyan can never be attained, can never be got, can never be gained, if Atma-gyan can never happen, if self can never be known by someone, so where is the problem? There's a problem. Me, yes. The only obstacle is me, I. It is an obstacle in what sense? What is the nature of that obstacle? Does it have its own existence? Is it conscious? No. It is something that seems to be like a veil, a curtain. It seems to cover up. Because all our attention is on this I and its attribute, the story of the I. So the whole process, you see, to come to direct self-recognition is to remove our attention from this non-existing I, the non-existing attributes of the I. You have actually, we have looked in the wrong direction. Bring the attention in the right direction. You have forgotten yourself. You are just, it was a moment of dream. You have been dreaming. So there is no intrinsic ignorance. So Bhagavan never speaks about ignorance like we are victims of ignorance. No. We have created our own lack of attention, forgetfulness, pramada. That is the word Bhagavan is using, and as recorded by Sri Murugana, pramada. That is the problem, forgetfulness. So if you remember yourself, this remembrance will bring you to complete recognition, and then you realize that it was ever yours. It was never actually forgotten. So it was just an impression, a sort of mirage, that the being is going into a dream, a mirage, a temporary mirage. But there is no ignorance, and you are not gaining something new. You just bring the attention to the right place.